Hello, everybody. Here we are. It's November 6th, 2024. This is Susan Kokinda with your midweek update, the day after a historic election. What Donald Trump and the American people did yesterday is going to be a pretty hard act to follow. So I'm going to let Donald Trump and others do some of the talking, starting with Elon Musk, who posted on X around midnight last night in celebration of the victory. Quote, "America is a nation of builders. Soon you will be free to build." I want to repeat that. Soon you will be free to build. The spiritual transformation that has been crescendoing for months, if not years, turned into a stunning victory for the American spirit and for mankind, powered by what Donald Trump in his victory speech called the greatest political movement of all time. But it is the principles which drive that movement, which must now be understood more clearly. And I think Musk's comment begins to capture that. But let me start with the highlights of the results, at least as of midday Wednesday, which is when this is being recorded. A clear electoral college victory was won by Donald Trump, putting the war game scenarios of a long, drawn-out vote count, which would prompt social unrest, into some kind of abeyance. Obviously, we saw massive demographic shifts over to Trump's new Republican Party. And we've won the Senate. Again, as of this recording, the House is still up for grabs. And Donald Trump became the first Republican to win the popular vote in 20 years. We also know there was a thorough indictment of what CNN contributor Scott Jennings called the political information complex. The psyops failed. Whatever election irregularities there might have been were overcome. And as Dana White said when he was on stage with Trump at Mar-a-Lago last night, it was truly karma for Donald Trump and his family in the face of unprecedented lawfare, coming from those people who claimed that Donald Trump was the fascist and the threat to democracy. By the way, the exit polls in Michigan and Pennsylvania showed that working-class Americans did understand that there is a threat to democracy, and they voted accordingly against Kamala Harris. I'll come back to some of the details of the election later in the discussion. But first, I want to recommend that you watch the 2.5-minute video, which Nicole Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s vice presidential candidate, posted on X 2 days before the election. Here's the first minute.
What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? Look at the opportunities before us.
This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about we, the people, choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
Nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. Why are we allowing this to happen to our children? Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other.
What is going on here is deeper than politics. It is deeply spiritual. We are being called to rise above the hatred and the fear and the evil.
We need to remember above and beyond that we must love our neighbors, that we must treat other people as we hope to be treated.
As Shanahan said, this is deeply spiritual. And notice that she said, rise above, not just fight against, the hatred and fear and evil. It is this spiritual quality that I want to address, and what it is that allows you to rise above and truly vanquish evil. Trump reflected some of this at the close of his Mar-a-Lago remarks last night, when he said, "Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason, and that reason was to save our country and to restore America to greatness. And now we are going to fulfill that mission together. If you go back to the Shanahan video, at the very end, Trump touches on this same quality again, where he says, the people dreamed this country, and it's the people who are making America great again. For centuries, people did dream of a form of society which would foster and protect that which is human in us, our creative powers to transform the planet that we live on, and soon to transform the solar system that we live in. With the formation of the American Constitutional Republic, that dream came alive. And the freedom bequeathed to us is not some liberal or libertarian freedom to do anything you damn well please, but as Musk said, the freedom to build. This is why the working class vote, of all races, ages, whether it was male or female, was so important in this election. That CNN commentator who indicted the political information complex continued on CNN reading the Riot Acts to his stunned colleagues in a panel last night. He said that what this election was the revenge of the just regular old working class American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids and feel that they've been told to just shut up. This CNN commentator, Jennings, described how the pundits over these recent months and years have just repeated the narratives, the storylines, and so on about what's going on, who are the fascists, what are the issues, and so on. And what Jennings says is he says, we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like they were barely able to tread water at best. And for all of us who cover elections, we have to learn to talk to, listen to, and understand the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough. And it is indeed that half of the country which actually works. Whether it's the auto worker on the assembly line in Michigan, or a manufacturer in North Carolina, or an energy producer, or even a young person who just wants to find something productive to do with their lives. These are the layers that must be given the freedom to build and to produce. J.D. Vance, when he was on stage with Trump last night, followed up on the characterization that this was the greatest political comeback in history by asserting that we will lead the greatest economic comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership. As followers of our Promethean Action website know, Donald Trump's Agenda 47 policies, which were concretized in the 2024 Republican Party platform, give the outline of how to do that by returning to the producer principles of the American system and rejecting the free trade and monetarist policies of the British imperial system. It wasn't surprising that the London Economist, whose former editor tangled with Donald Trump in Chicago recently, endorsed Kamala Harris right before the election, citing Trump's support of American system tariff policies as one of the primary reasons. I recommend that people go to Promethean Action and watch the excellent presentation by Bob Ingram on the history of American tariff policies. Now, while we're on the subject of the British, something which our weekly updates have focused on in the run-up to the election, British Prime Minister Kier Starmer, whose Labour Party was heavily exposed in directly interfering in the U.S. elections by supporting Kamala Harris and with probably illegal activity in pushing a censorship regime in the United States, well, the Prime Minister had to bite his tongue, play the diplomat, and offer his congratulations to Trump, declaring that the U.S. and the U.K. are the closest of allies, and claiming that he looks forward to working with Trump in the years ahead. Behind this diplo-speak, you can count on the British to continue to run operations in direct opposition to Trump's efforts to restore the American system and end British-instigated perpetual wars. And we will also see their hand in running more subtle operations, where they will act from inside the Republican Party to try and subvert his policies from within. I encourage you to subscribe to our website for exclusive coverage of this, based on decades of direct combat with those networks and those entities. I want to touch on an aspect of Trump's victory speech yesterday, which, more than anything, captured the unique nature of America, the nature which our British oligarchical enemies hate. It was Trump's extensive praise of Elon Musk when he said, "We have to protect our geniuses. We don't have many of them." And then he went on, as he has so often, to describe the impact on him of when he saw the landing and catch of Musk's Super Heavy booster. He talks about how he put a very important person on hold for 45 minutes because he was so captivated by this. But last night he said, "This spaceship came down and I saw those engines firing, and it looked like it was over. It looked like it was going to smash. And then I saw the fire pour out from the left side and put it straight. And it was a beautiful thing to see." As I was listening to that part of Trump's speech, I thought about why we call ourselves Promethean Action. The myth, or more appropriately, the metaphor of Prometheus, is the story of stealing fire from the gods and giving it to mankind. Trump's description of the fire and of Elon's genius is the essence of that Promethean quality. The other part of the Promethean story is the fact that Prometheus was punished by the gods/elites/oligarchy and chained to a rock for what was supposed to be eternity. The full text of Aeschylus's drama, Prometheus Bound, written around 450 BC, has been preserved. But the text of the second part, Prometheus Unbound, is lost. With Trump's victory, which should sweep away the lawfare attacks on him, and his embrace of fire and genius and space travel, perhaps we are seeing the modern-day version of Prometheus Unbound being written by us before our own eyes. The election yesterday and the visible political transformation which it brought about will certainly be a prominent chapter in this new drama. So here we are. Donald Trump is the president-elect, becoming the first president in well over 100 years to win non-consecutive terms. And he won the popular vote. And he selected a vice presidential candidate who shares Trump's combativeness, which Trump mentioned on stage yesterday, and who actually thinks through why he believes what he believes, and is one of the most articulate spokesmen for the new Republican Party of the working man. In addition, Trump knows that he can't do it alone. And he said in his victory speech last night, "I hope you're going to be looking back someday and say that this was one of the truly important moments of my life, when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people." I can't stress how important it is that this group of great people includes a younger generation: J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Trump's own family, younger members of his family, and others. We, even before this victory, our organizers were going out on the street with a sign which said, "Trump Vance, 12 more years." And that is a real possibility now. So what ensured victory yesterday was the shattering of the old guard, of the grip of the Democratic Party over large sections of the population, and in a certain sense, the surrender of the old Republican Party to Trump's momentum, although I don't think that fight is over by a long shot. In Michigan, Donald Trump won the city of Dearborn with 47% to Kamala's 28%. Jill Stein got the rest. This was a tectonic shift from 2020. Trump's support doubled, and Kamala's was cut down to 1/3. Otherwise, we're also seeing the tendency that the younger the population, the more they support Trump. That might have something to do with that thing called the future. Hispanics have shifted dramatically to Trump as well. And while it is still small percentage-wise, the Black population is now in flux. I'm not going to try and get into the details of all of this because the dust is still settling. A lot of the data is from exit polls, and we have plenty of time to digest it as the final races are called and we get a more refined picture. I want to conclude by going back to the video produced by Nicole Shanahan. In the very opening, it shows Trump saying, "What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered?" We answered the question of what do we do with this electoral moment with yesterday's victory. Now the work begins to answer the next question. How will we be remembered? To answer that successfully, we must fully restore and propagate the economic and cultural principles of the American system. Promethean Action prepared for this moment by releasing an important pamphlet entitled What Donald Trump Can Do with the American System 2.0. You can find it on our website. This has been your midweek update in a historic week. Thanks for listening.